You know what's crazy? Most people think the reason they're broke is because they don't make enough money. They'll say, if I could just get a raise, if I could just land that job, if I could just hit the lottery. But let me tell you the truth. It ain't about how much you make. It's about how much you lose without even noticing. There's a silent killer out here, and it ain't taxes, it ain't the economy, and it sure ain't your boss. It's something way sneakier. It creeps into your life, takes your money little by little, and before you know it, your dreams are on life support. And here's the worst part. You invited it in. Everybody talks about how to get rich, but almost nobody talks about the number one wealth killer, keeping people broke. 8. That's what we're about to deal with today, because until you call it out, it'll keep robbing you blind. Let's be real. Living beyond your means is one of the biggest traps people fall into, and most of the time, they don't even see it happening. It doesn't start with some giant purchase like a mansion or a luxury car. It starts small, with little decisions that look harmless. Swiping the credit card for dinner you can't afford, buying clothes just to impress people who don't care, upgrading your phone when your old one works just fine. Piece by piece, those habits add up, and before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle of trying to look wealthy while your bank account is gasping for air. 48. Here's the harsh truth. Too many people care more about looking rich than actually being rich. They want the image of success before they've built the foundation for it. 8. And that's the silent thief. You can't build wealth while you're draining yourself trying to keep up with the next trend, the next car, the next vacation. What good is driving a luxury car if you're stressing about the monthly payment? What good is wearing designer clothes if your credit card bill keeps you up at night? That isn't wealth. That's slavery with fancy packaging. The problem is pride. Pride whispers in your ear, go ahead, you deserve it. Everybody else has it. 8. You don't want to look like you're behind. But pride doesn't pay the bills. Pride won't keep the lights on. Pride won't secure your future. Pride tricks people into thinking short-term satisfaction is worth long-term struggle, and every time you give in to it, you're robbing your future self of freedom. Living beyond your means is dangerous because it feels normal. Our culture glorifies it. Everywhere you look, people are flashing lifestyles that aren't real. Social media is filled with people showing cars they leased, clothes they put on credit, and trips they financed with money they don't have. 8. And because you're scrolling through that every day, it creates pressure. You start feeling like you're supposed to keep up. 2. The 48. But here's the truth. Most of the people you're trying to imitate are broke too. They're just broke with better filters on Instagram. 8. What you have to understand is this wealth isn't about what people see. It's about what they don't see. Wealth is the money sitting quietly in your savings account, not the new shoes on your feet. Wealth is the investments working for you while you sleep, not the car you had to finance for 7 years. Wealth is freedom, the ability to make decisions without money holding you hostage. 8. But you'll never get there if you're too busy spending money. You don't have to prove something you don't need to prove. Living within your means doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. It means you enjoy it wisely. It means you make choices that your future self will thank you for, not regret. 8. It means you learn to delay gratification, sacrifice now so you can celebrate later. Because here's the truth, broke people celebrate first and pay later, but wealthy people sacrifice first and celebrate later. That one mindset shift makes all the difference. If you're always chasing appearances, you'll always be behind. 8. But if you learn to control your spending, to say no when pride tries to tempt you to live below your means, instead of beyond them, you'll build something real. 8, you'll build peace of mind, you'll build security, and eventually you'll build the kind of wealth that doesn't need to be shown off because it speaks for itself. So ask yourself, are you really building wealth, or are you just building an image? Because one will set you free and the other will keep you broke forever. Living beyond your means is the silent thief. It robs you slowly, quietly, until you've got nothing left but bills, stress, and regret. But if you flip the script and start living with discipline, 48, you'll put that thief out of business and finally start walking toward the life you've been chasing all along. It's not always the big, obvious expenses that rob people of their wealth. It's the little ones. It's the little ones, the sneaky ones that slide under the radar. Everybody sees a mansion and knows it costs a fortune. Everybody sees a luxury car and knows it comes with heavy payments. But the real killer, it's that coffee you buy every morning without thinking, the food delivery fees that pile up, the subscriptions you signed up for and forgot about, the impulse buys that seem harmless in the moment. Those little leaks don't make it a sound, but over time, they sink even the biggest ships. Think about it, one $5 coffee doesn't hurt. One $20 takeout meal feels convenient. One streaming service at $10 a month feels cheap. But add it up, that coffee every day, that's $150 a month. That food delivery 3 times a week, that's $250 gone. Those 4 or 5 subscriptions you barely use, that's another 50 or 60 slipping away. Before you even realize it, your small habits are costing you thousands of dollars a year. And here's the thing, you don't even feel it. That's why it's so dangerous. The little expenses are silent because they don't trigger alarms. Swiping your card for $7 doesn't give you the same anxiety as a $700 payment. It feels light, manageable like nothing at all. But it's death by 1,000 cuts. Your paycheck is bleeding out, not because of one big stab, but because of dozens of tiny jabs you didn't pay attention to. That's why so many people stay broke even when they make decent money. They think, well, I'm not buying big luxuries, so I must be fine. But they're not fine. They're being drained slowly by habits they've normalized. Marketers know this better than anyone. That's why they don't ask you for $300 up front. They ask for $9.99 a month. They know you won't notice it. They know you'll sign up, forget about it, and keep paying. They know it feels harmless. But harmless is what keeps you stuck. 48. That's why being intentional with your money matters so much. Because if you don't track where it's going, 8, those little leaks will keep eating your wealth before you can build it. And let me tell you something. Wealth isn't built on big leaps. It's built on discipline in the small things. It's saying no to the unnecessary so you can say yes to the future. It's cutting back on those conveniences so you can invest in something that grows. It's recognizing that every dollar you spend is a seed, and if you plant it in empty soil, you'll get nothing back. But if you plant it wisely, over time it multiplies. Here's the part most people miss. Those little expenses don't just cost you money today, they cost you wealth tomorrow. That $200 a month you waste on small habits could have been invested over a year. That's $2,400. Invested over a decade, that could grow into tens of thousands. So you're not just losing money, you're losing time, opportunity, and growth. That's why ignoring the little expenses is so dangerous. Now, this doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. It doesn't mean you can't ever buy coffee or order takeout. It means you have to be aware. You have to make conscious choices. You can't just let money slip through your fingers because only a few bucks. Because here's the truth. A few bucks is exactly what builds or destroys wealth. Wealthy people know where their money goes. Broke people don't. So if you want to kill the 5-1 wealth killer, start here. Pay attention to the small leaks. Track them. Challenge them. Ask yourself, do I really need this, or is this just habit? Because your wealth won't be destroyed by one giant mistake. It'll be eaten alive by 1,000 little ones. And once you see that, you'll realize the enemy was never hiding in the big purchases. It was hiding in plain sight, in the little expenses you thought didn't matter. Debt is one of the heaviest chains a person can carry, and the sad part is most people put that chain around their own neck. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts with one swipe of the card, one "I'll pay it back later," one loan you convince yourself is harmless. Then it grows. Before you know it, the balance balloons, the interest stacks up, and suddenly you're working every day not for yourself, not for your family, but for your creditors. That's the trap debt creates. It steals your freedom while convincing you it's normal. Debt is dangerous because it feels like help at first. That credit card makes you feel like you've got extra money. That loan makes you feel like you can afford more than you really can. But the truth is, debt doesn't give, it takes. It takes your paycheck, your peace of mind, and your future opportunities. The minute you owe someone, you're no longer in full control of your life. Your choices get limited because now your first obligation is to pay them back. You don't own your time, they do. You don't own your money, they do. That's why debt is such a powerful wealth killer. The worst part is how normalized it's become. 8 people walk around carrying thousands in debt, like it's just another bill, like it's part of life. Everybody's in debt, they'll say, as if that makes it okay. 8. But just because something is common doesn't mean it's right. Chains are still chains, even if everybody's wearing them. And those chains keep people trapped in jobs they hate, locked into lifestyles they can't afford, and too broke to invest in their future. Debt robs you twice. First, it takes your money in payments. Then, it steals the money you could have made with that payment if it had been invested instead. For example, paying $500 a month on a car loan isn't just costing you the 500s, it's costing you the thousands of dollars that money could have grown into over the years if it had been invested. That's the hidden cost of debt, not just what you lose now, but what you lose later. Another cruel trick debt plays is emotional. It keeps you stressed. Every month you're reminded of it. Every time the statement comes, you feel it. That constant pressure wears you down. That 38, it makes you feel like you can't move forward because you're always dragging that chain behind you. And when you're weighed down with stress, you make worse decisions. You take shortcuts. You grab at quick fixes instead of building real solutions. That's how debt keeps people trapped in a cycle, financially and mentally. But here's the truth. Breaking free from debt is one of the most liberating things you can do. The moment you don't owe anybody, your money belongs to you. Your paycheck isn't spent before it hits your account. You're not waking up to work for a lender. You're working for yourself, for your family, for your future. That's real freedom, and that freedom gives you options. You can save, invest, take risks, build something meaningful. Debt takes those options away, but discipline brings them back. This is why building wealth while carrying debt is almost impossible. It's like trying to run a race with weights strapped to your legs. No matter how fast you move, those chains are slowing you down. People think they can out-earn their debt, but the truth is you can't out-earn poor habits. Until you break the chain, your progress will always be limited. So if you want to kill the wealth killer, you've got to face debt head on. Stop treating it like a friend and start treating it like the enemy it really is. Pay it off, avoid it where you can, and refuse to let it steal your future. Because the longer you carry that chain, the harder it is to break free. And once you do break free, you'll realize the greatest wealth isn't just in dollars. It's in the freedom to live life on your own terms. Discipline is the dividing line between people who build wealth and people who stay broke no matter how much they earn. You can have the best job, the biggest paycheck, 48, even a winning streak in business. But if you don't have the discipline to control your money, you'll lose it just as fast as it comes in. That's why lack of the discipline is one of the greatest wealth killers out there. It doesn't matter what opportunities come your way. Without discipline, you'll waste them all. Think about it. How many people do you know who make good money but are still always broke? They bring in thousands every month. 88. But by the end of it, they're scraping by, waiting for the next paycheck. It's not because they don't earn enough. It's because they don't manage what they earn. They spend first and think later. They live for the weekend, for the quick thrill, for the short-term high of buying something new. And then they wonder why, years down the line, they've got nothing to show for all the work they put in. That's not a money problem. That's a discipline problem. Discipline is the ability to tell yourself no when it matters most. It's the strength to walk past temptation, to choose long-term success over short-term pleasure. Without discipline, you're a slave to every impulse. If you see it, you want it. If you want it, you buy it. If you buy it, you regret it. That cycle is the reason so many people never break free. They're constantly chasing satisfaction instead of building security. The truth is, discipline isn't glamorous. Nobody claps for you when you save instead of spend. Nobody cheers when you pack a lunch instead of eating out. Nobody congratulates you for staying home to avoid wasting money. But those quiet, disciplined decisions are the exact moves that separate wealthy people from broke people. Wealth isn't loud, it's built in silence with consistency and self-control. Here's the reality: building wealth takes patience. It means saying no today so you can say yes tomorrow. It means delaying gratification while your money grows. People without discipline don't want to wait. They want everything now. But here's the problem with no: it's expensive. Buying on impulse costs more. Financing costs more. Chasing every new trend costs more. And when you live that way, you're not just spending your money, you're spending your future. Discipline also means having a plan. Broke people drift through life with no budget, no strategy, and no vision for their money. They hope things will work out. Wealthy people don't leave it to hope. They map it out. They track their spending. They set goals. They know where every dollar is going. That discipline gives them control, and control builds confidence. When you know where your money is, you stop being afraid of it. You stop being surprised by it. You start mastering it. But the biggest reason lack of discipline keeps people broke is because it breeds inconsistency. 1 month they save, the next they splurge. 1 week they're focused, the next week they're distracted. And inconsistency kills momentum. Wealth is built like a snowball, slow at first, then bigger and faster over time. But if you keep stopping and starting, your snowball never grows. Discipline keeps you rolling forward even when you don't feel like it, even when it's boring, even when it's hard. At the end of the day, money doesn't care how much you talk about success. It responds to what you do with it. 8. Without discipline, you'll always be chasing wealth but never catching it. With discipline, even small incomes can grow into large fortunes over time. That's why the Phase 1 wealth killer isn't bad luck, the economy, or even a low paycheck. It's the lack of discipline that keeps people stuck in the same cycle year after year. So ask yourself, are you controlling your money? 8, or is your money controlling you? Are you choosing discipline today so you can have freedom tomorrow? Or are you letting your impulses rob you blind? Because here's the truth: wealth doesn't happen by accident, it happens by discipline. And without it, you'll always be rich in excuses, but broke in reality.